Hi, this is Nanette Hosenfeld with the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Sunday, June 3rd, 2018. Looking at the next few days as far as fire potential impacts, there is some concern for some isolated dry thunderstorms across southeastern Utah. That's the highlighted area in red on the map today. Those will mainly occur south of I-70. On Monday and Tuesday, we are concerned about some gusty winds across the southern two-thirds of the Great Basin. You can see that area highlighted in orange. In this area, we're expecting southwest winds in the 15 to 30 mile an hour range with relative humidity below 15%. So quite dry and windy in these areas. Over the past 24 hours, there was a little bit of precip across the southeastern part of Utah and part of the Arizona Strip. However, very little lightning was associated with these storms. Fire activity is beginning to pick up across the Great Basin. You can see some new fires and some larger existing fires that are on the map. Precipitation is below normal across the southeastern part of the Great Basin, both over the past 7 and 30 days, looking at these two maps on the screen. Things are looking a little bit better to the north. However, you can see western Nevada over the past 7 days has been quite dry. ERCs are on the rise, which should be no surprise with the hotter and drier conditions we've seen across the southeast. The thing that's unusual are some of the stations, the RAW stations that are reporting ERCs above the 90th percentile. So really abnormally dry, especially as you move south and east across the Great Basin. The live fuel moisture reflects this trend with really dry conditions across the southern and eastern portions of the Great Basin. You can see from these two charts on the screen, the bottom two charts on the right, that the live fuel moisture is really decreasing significantly across the south. That story changes a little bit as you move further north. You can see this Three Creek observation site in southwestern Idaho has actually seen an increase in sagebrush fuel moisture as we have seen more storm activity there in the past few weeks. Satellite this morning shows a disturbance across the southeastern part of the Great Basin that is moving out of the area. So for today, we will see some moisture across the southeastern part of the Great Basin. We are concerned with the dry fuels there, about the potential for dry lightning, but these storms are expected to remain pretty isolated, and so we did not issue any high-risk products for that today. Looking in a little more detail, as far as winds will be pretty light across the majority of the Great Basin. They will be a little elevated across western Nevada, as you can see from the image on the right. Conditions will be very dry. The image on the left shows the relative humidity forecast for this afternoon, and many areas are at or below 10%. As we move into Monday, we'll start to see winds increase across the southern part of the Great Basin, with the disturbance beginning to make its way into the northwestern part of the country. And with that, we will begin to see some areas dry across the Great Basin. You can see some of the areas turning yellow on our fire potential map. With that system moving in, we are looking at really low relative humidities again across the majority of the Great Basin tomorrow afternoon, and we are going to see winds begin to increase across the area tomorrow. You can see these elevated wind forecast numbers for tomorrow afternoon. Also tomorrow, conditions will be quite hot across the south. This image on the right shows our maximum temperature forecast. You can see some sites across the southern part of Nevada forecast to be well over 100 degrees, so quite hot across the south on Monday. Moving into Tuesday, there is going to continue to be some dry air, gusty conditions across the southern part of the Great Basin, and you can see portions of the southern southeastern Great Basin drying out into Tuesday. Again, really low relative humidity on Tuesday and those gusty winds that we've been talking about across the southern part of our area on Tuesday afternoon. So over the next 3 days, really not too much in the way of precipitation, just the potential for some storms across southeastern Utah this afternoon. As we move into Wednesday, we continue to see that storm system slowly make its way into the Great Basin. We expect to see those gusty winds continue across the south and the east, which will lead to a further drying and curing of the fuels across the southern part of the Great Basin. As we move into Thursday, you can really see that dry air remain in place across the south. Also, gusty winds expected to continue into Thursday across the south. A pretty similar looking picture on Friday. We'll continue to see areas dry across the south through later this week with that drier air, the gustier winds. And finally, looking at Saturday, there is a potential for some moisture to make its way into the southeastern part of the Great Basin. Now, 6 days from now, it's really hard to put too much weight in what the models are saying, but they are suggesting the potential for some lightning across the southeastern part of the area. And if this does end up happening, it would be significant, as we are expecting pretty dry and windy conditions leading up to this day. So over the 7-day period, really quite dry across the Great Basin. We could see some precipitation across the northern part of our area later in the period, but pretty dry across the majority of the Great Basin. Finally, in the 8 to 14-day outlook, the Climate Prediction Center is calling for above normal temperatures across our entire area, with below normal precipitation across the majority of the area, with the exception of our far southeastern areas. So that's it. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us. You can find our information on the screen, and you can also find us on Twitter. Thanks.